All right, we are live back on Radio Row with our next special guest, Kevin Malone. He played in the Major League Baseball for 17 years. He was the best general manager in the game in 1995. He's also an initiative about human trafficking, which we'll talk about that, and we're going to talk about Jesus. So I'm a pleasure to have you on. How you doing?
I'm doing great and blessed.
Yes, awesome. So playing in the MLB for 17 years. Talk about that experience, your upbringing. How did you get to that point of making it to MLB?
Well, I wasn't a very good player, so I got there because I could scout and identify talent and put teams together, and ended up becoming a general manager of 3 major league teams and putting them together. So I had a good run. I thank the Lord for that opportunity. I could play a little bit. I played in the minor leagues. I just couldn't hit it. I could field it and run about 45 pounds ago.
We know about that.
But I was blessed that I was always kind of an analytical type of person when it came to the game. How do you beat people? What do I need to do? You know, and I had a great experience in 1991. I was with the Minnesota Twins, and we beat the Atlanta Braves in that World Series. And I did the scouting report. It was a real thick scouting report on what are the Braves' tendencies, what they do. And Tom Kelly was the manager of the Twins. He brought me into the clubhouse before Game 1 of the World Series. The whole team was around me asking. I had 2 questions asked. Kirby Puckett, one of my favorite players ever.
I love
you kind of remind me of Kirby.
I know Kirby.
When I saw you, I said,
we were both chubby. So chubby guy, man.
No, it's
all time,
strong, and a great guy too.
Yeah.
And he asked me which way do I shade the gaps on certain hitters, and then Jack Morris, who won 3 games, he said who are first ball fastball hitters. So I love the analytics and the strategies of all sports. I love just watching the way things are done, but I was pretty good at it in baseball. So God blessed me and gave me the opportunity, and I'm thankful.
Yeah. And again, Kirby Puckett, one of my favorite players. Ken Griffey was one of my, that was my all-time, man.
Yeah.
The branding of his dad.
Yeah.
Talk about your time as a general manager in baseball as well. Just the business side of it and everything.
Well, I think a lot of people don't really know what general managers do. Mm-hmm. And it's changed. I've been out of the game for a while now, but it's changed. There's a lot of guys in it now. They're just kind of sabermetrics or analytics guys. They're Ivy League trained and, you know, they're book smart. I was not book smart. I mean, I did graduate college, but I was more of an instinct, a gut feel.
Eye test.
Yeah. And so as a general manager, I really identified well with players so I could help them off the field so they would be positioned to have success on the field. But as a general manager, so I signed Kevin Brown to a $105 million contract, 7 years, $15 million a year. That was the first big contract.
Yep, I remember that one too.
Yeah, 98. Yeah. And but Gian, basically you run the overall baseball operation. So you have some business people you work with the ticket people, but I was able to really hire the scouts, hire the player development people, really put the players together, and then hire the manager, hire the coaches. So anything baseball operations wise, that was my responsibility. And I had some guys in Baltimore when I was with the Orioles, I did contracts. So I did Cal Ripken, Brady Anderson, Robbie Alomar. So I did their contracts. But when I moved to LA, they had a lawyer that did the contracts. So that's good because sometimes it creates an uncomfortableness between the GM and the player. Right. And I wanted to have a good relationship. And so let a lawyer, let somebody else. They don't care if you like the numbers. Not. Yeah. Right. The lawyers, they have no personality.
It's like IT people. So, man, and that was a great team at that point. Brady Anderson, Cal Ripken, Roberto Alomar is one of my favorite players.
Palmeiro.
Man, that was an amazing team. So Major League Baseball today. I'm from Texas. I'm a Rangers fan.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Dreams do come true.
And you talked about the eye test. There was a period where you had Nolan Ryan and you had JD, John Daniels. John Daniels was more analytics. Nolan Ryan was more eye test. They worked well together because they ended up going to the World Series, but they ended up going with John Daniels instead of Nolan Ryan. Talk about that, the evolution of analytics. Is it too much?
Well, it's interesting. I think Billy Beane with the A's Moneyball, he made it well known, but people were doing analytics. They just didn't tell anybody about it. Because if I had an advantage over you guys, I'm not going to tell you.
So
I never understood why he shared that with the world.
Right.
But Dan Duquette, who was in Montreal before me, I became the GM of the Expos. Dan went to Boston with the Red Sox. But Dan taught me a lot about analytics and about just knowing numbers but not getting away totally from the eye test, as you call it, or the instinctual part of it, but using that to complement what you see. So it was being done before Billy came out with it, and it became popular because I think now if you don't know, we call it makeup in baseball. So makeup means work ethic, intangibles, respect for teammates. How are you as a teammate? And I think now, if you're too analytics based, too numbers based, you miss some of the personal aspects of and I think that's what you see in all sports. You look at teams and they bring in all the best players on paper, but they don't connect, they don't get along, they don't work together. So that's the most important thing is finding the right people. Heart. Do you have heart? Do you want to win?
Heart,
Will you sacrifice for your teammate? There's a lot of it, and I think that's what we're seeing, in the Super Bowl this year. I think I don't know who you guys are for, but
49ers.
I'm for the Chiefs.
You guys are like yin and yang. If you would have said Chiefs, he would have said 49ers. I love that how you guys are. But I think I've seen the 49ers look unbeatable, and I've seen them not so good, but I know you guys. If you guys tell me you did, and I'm going to say you're not telling the truth. You picked the Ravens. Everybody in the world picked the Ravens to beat Kansas City. And I went to school at the University of Louisville. Lamar Jackson.
He
came from Louisville.
Heisman.
Two best athletes ever come out of the University of Louisville. That's a fib right there.
Right.
But I nose go a little bit. I think it's going to be a great Super Bowl, and I wouldn't bet against Mahomes. I'm not going to bet anyway. But
that's what everybody's saying. That's that factor you talked about. Where it's not analytics, it's just eye test.
Yes.
You can't put a word on it.
I see his agent Lee Steinberg walking around in here, so he picked him out of Texas Tech and what he go down after the second half of the first round.
Right.
So. Tip my cap to him. Andy Reid knows what he's doing.
He does.
It's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it too. Now, human trafficking, which is a horrible thing, and it is happening more and more in Dallas. It's happening. I'm sure in Philadelphia it's happening.
Yeah.
But talk about, and on your shirt you have kids not for sale.
So I went to Thailand with my pastor Francis Chan, and I felt like God was calling me to fight for the voiceless, be a voice for the voiceless and the vulnerable. And at the time, I actually owned a Mercedes-Benz dealership, but I felt like God was saying, there's more to life. What's your purpose in life? And he basically said, your purpose is going to be, and I didn't hear it audibly, but I felt like God was impressing on me, I want you to help people get their kids back, or I want you to protect kids. I want you to rescue. I want you to be involved in the overall protection of kids. And guys, what I found out and what's happening is shocking stats. 72% of the trafficked girls from Las Vegas are African American.
Wow.
90% in LA. We've got a real problem with young African American girls and Hispanic girls to a much lesser degree that are being bought for sex to be raped. And guess who's the number one buyer? Middle-class white vanilla guys. So, but here's what I'd like people listening out there is, I'd like African American men to stand up for your communities, stand up for your kids, and protect your boys and girls. Because what people don't know is 33% of all trafficked American kids are boys. 1 out of 3 traffic kids is a boy.
Wow.
So we've got some real problems, and it's like it doesn't matter who the kid is or where he's from or what he looks like or what she looks like. We've got to protect our kids. They say kids are the future. What kind of future are we going to have if we don't
they're
protect
not here?
Exactly. So that's my word. Is let's really become a community again. Let's look out for each other. The Bible says we love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbor, love others, serve others, help others. And you once you know that and live that, it's mind changing. It's like instead of it being about me, selfish, like the Bible says, I must decrease and Jesus must increase.
Right.
I need to live a life that honors and glorifies Him. And when I do that, when I pursue Him wholeheartedly, when I seek Him with all my heart, the blessings. It's hard to describe the goodness, the faithfulness of God, because He's true to His promises. And I tell you what, I just want to be obedient, but I'm not a lot because I mess up. But, but I'm glad Jesus forgives me and He paid the price for my sins. So,
and I'm going to tell her, don't repeat
exactly. That's a good point. A lot of if you keep sinning and you say, Jesus, I'm going to say, I don't know, because your life needs to be a reflection of what you say. Yes, exactly
right. And with human trafficking, which continues to continue to rear its ugly head, what advice would you give to parents? Because I think sometimes parents just say it won't happen to me.
Well, I'd say yes, definitely. Great question. I'd say know who your kids' friends are, know what social media or what they're doing with their phones or whatever, electronics they have. Most of the boys that we've rescued or served and helped were groomed and recruited off of
social media,
off of in games. These predators can get on these games that they play. So just know what your kids, know their friends, know what they're doing, and then I would say another thing. Big thing is make sure the school is providing some training or teachings. You got to educate yourself to be aware of the problem. And now you're aware, then there's a call to action. So there's something you can do, but we can't be our friends of our kids. We've got to be their parents. So we've got to protect them from themselves and all the evil that's out in the world right now.
Right. And you got to tell your kids, which I tell my wife, me and my wife tell my daughter all the time, be aware of your surroundings. Just because you think everything is fine, which kids do. They just think everybody's nice and you can, that's not the way it is. No. And you got to speak up if something happens.
Yes.
And my daughter's 35 and she travels. She works for Nuna. It's a baby accessory, strollers, car seats. When she's going flying to San Francisco or flying somewhere, I say, be aware, be safe. Don't be on your phone, not looking around. She'll always be my baby girl, and she's 35. So
they never.
Exactly right.
Yeah. But I love what you're doing with that, and combating and putting God first on that. So I want to transition into something. Your name has been used in the office.
Oh, that's funny.
Talk about that story.
So after I left the Dodgers, I used to play in some of these charity celebrity golf tournaments. And I went to this golf course and I'm in this line. You go through the line and you get your swag, your gift bag, or whatever. And somebody says, Kevin Malone, I got your clubs. And the guy in front of me says, "Hey, I'll be right there." It was Kevin Malone in the office. I said, "I'm the real Kevin Malone." What do you do?
A fictional person.
Right. And they Google it. They came up that.
When I Google Kevin Malone, it's like the guy from the office.
And that's not even his name.
Now you got to Google Kevin Malone baseball.
Right. Kevin Malone MLB.
Kevin Malone, he's everywhere and much better looking. But no, that's a funny story.
But thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Appreciate what you're doing.
Anything you want to leave us with? Where can people follow you, your organization?
Yes. So I have two organizations. One, kidsnotforsale.org. Kidsnotforsale.org. There's trainings, they're teaching. You can learn all about this problem, and we will help you get involved in the fight. We're trying to raise up warriors all over the country to fight and protect our kids. And then the other one is USIAHT. It's the first letter for United States Institute Against Human Trafficking, USIAHT.org. You can get trained. You can get all the information. It's both good websites. Go to them and check it out.
All right, and I'll put those in the comments.
Thank you.
Kids Not For Sale and USIAHT.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. We appreciate
God
it.
bless you guys. Have a great week.
Thank you. You
Yes,
too.
sir.
God bless you.
All right, and we are back live on Radio Row. We are coming with it hot and heavy today.
Yes.
Thursday, Super Bowl 58 live on Radio Row. We have our next guest up, Dr. Rhonda Wood on the show. And she's been coming by. She has been very persistent.
Yes.
Persistent.
So we had to get her on.
She's been coming by throughout the week, really, since the beginning. But glad to get you on. Tell us and the viewers about yourself.
Sure. My name is Dr. Rhonda M. Wood. I am what I call a recovering corporate America professional. So I have been in corporate America for about 30 years, and I recently stepped away. Why? Because sometimes corporate America can be a little bit chaotic, a bit dysfunctional, a little bit of too much high energy and too much demand. So I made the very probably unpopular decision to step away to prioritize me, to focus on my mental health and to focus more on my family.
Yeah.
And so right now what I do is I travel around the world. I've been to England, France, Belgium. So I'm an international mental health speaker, an international best-selling author, a corporate trainer, because I teach other corporations how to let happen to their employees what happened to me. And I'm also just an amazing advocate for mental health advocacy. And I'm on the board of the National Alliance for Mental Illness in my county, Prince George's County, Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah, talk about that, the mental health part of it all, because we're, in this day and age, mental health is a big discussion. So from your perspective, talk about the mental health issues.
Yeah, so absolutely. So let me just say something. So first of all, I think if the pandemic didn't teach us anything else, it was that we need to focus on us, because there was a time when we were not stuck at home, but safe at home.
Right.
But it's something that we weren't used to. It felt like a long, extended time out.
Right.
But during that time, some people started to feel, maybe some depression symptoms come to the surface, some maybe anxiety symptoms. They were worried about loss of income, loss of their health, loss of their loved ones, loss of their, being able to be social. We had to physically and socially distance from each other.
Right.
Sometimes we were just sitting alone with our thoughts.
Right.
And so, and mental health doesn't necessarily have to deal with something big and traumatic happening. In my own personal life, I was 18 years old. Now, my mother did pass away, but I made the very difficult decision to raise 3 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And so through that experience, I'm raising at that time, it was a 4-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 4-year-old brother, a 14-year-old sister, a teenager. Okay. I'm 18.
Wow. Wow.
She's only a few years younger than me. And then I had a sister, we were about the same age, but she was born deaf and with developmental disabilities. So again, I'm 18 years old. So the mental health component came in with me making sure that I was taking care of myself, taking care while I was also giving care.
Right. And like when you get on a plane and they say, make sure you put yours on first.
There it is.
And then, because you can't help someone else until you are taking care.
That
and
is.
we overlook ourselves. We just say, well, I can deal with myself later. Right. And then you keep putting it off, and eventually you burn out.
Yeah. And so, and that can happen personally and professionally. I think professionally, sometimes we try so hard to prove ourselves. We kind of get to that table, or we're ready to get to that table, and we just push ourselves to the limit. We become overwhelmed, stressed out, and burned out.
Right.
And so that was my case, where I had to step away and say, hey, you know what, and that's unpopular opinion, because a lot of people, they want to prove themselves. So you never want to go to your boss and say, you know what, I think this is too much. We want them to believe,
want to just keep running.
Got this.
Keep running.
Even when we don't.
Yeah.
And many times people will say, how you doing today? And 9 times out of 10, you will say,
I'm doing fine.
Exactly.
I'm good.
Even when we're not, because that's the perception that we always want to get,
Right.
And if you can imagine, and then, at home, it's the same thing. Typically, a lot of times, especially if we are caregivers, we're going to put ourselves last. We're going to make sure they okay.
Right.
We're going to make sure, the dinner, and we just keep going and not realizing. And of course, some of us, many of us, that superpower is our strength. That superpower is our resilience. That superpower is our tenacity. Oh, we going to make it happen. We going to make a dollar out of 15 cents.
Dime and a nickel.
Exactly.
That's so true. We're on with Dr. Rhonda Wood. So what brings you here to Radio Row? Is there a particular mission, purpose?
Yeah. So, first of all, I've always loved sports. So first of all, my daddy, let me tell you, my daddy, native Washingtonian, born and raised in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So he was a true hard, it was back then the Washington Redskins. They're now the Commanders. So I used to just, we used to just be watching football. Me and my dad used to be watching football on Sunday. So that's where my love of sports first came from, But then also, I started working for a law firm where we had a sports practice. So I began to understand, I began to understand the dynamics of the players, the dynamics of the organization, the dynamics of litigation, the dynamics of, negotiating and negotiating their salaries and, the endorsements that they get, and just the overall, just understanding the industry itself.
Yeah.
And so that's, that was a big part of it. And then when I found out this opportunity was coming about, I said, okay, well, let me combine my mental health awareness and reducing the stigma and my knowledge of the sports industry. Let me combine that and see if I can come here and kind of share my story and where it initiated from. And then also, make sure, here's the thing. We look up to players and athletes. It's
Right.
first of all, they're role models that they that they did not want to step into.
Whether they want to be or not.
Whether you want to be or not, people are going to look up to you, but we put them sometimes on a pedestal.
We do.
And what I
Every
noticed
time,
is when these players used to walk into their attorneys' offices at my law firm, I was like, well, they walk in plain clothes just like me. I mean, they don't have their jerseys on or their helmets on. And I'm like, these are regular people with regular issues.
Feelings.
The difference is you have a lot of pressure from your fans, your followers, your coaches, your fellow team players. They want you to bring home the win. They want you to bring home the championship, and so you're feeling the pressure to perform on the field, in the game, in the practice. And then you got to come home and be like, okay, honey, hi, what's for dinner?
Right.
But you still got all that pressure going on. You got a game tomorrow. You got a game next week.
Right. It's not easy to turn that off.
It's not. It's not. But it's not just with them. It's everybody in the organization.
Life is so intense.
Yes. Especially nowadays.
And when you come home, a lot of fathers or mothers too. When you get home, you take time to sit in the car before you even go inside. It's not that you don't love your family. It's not that you don't love your kids, but it's like everything.
Yes.
And then there's traffic. And then it's like you don't know what time you get home.
You have to work from all day.
All of those things.
Right. Yeah. No, I love those moments. Well, I pull in the driveway or in the garage, and you just sit there for a minute. Let me collect my thoughts. Let me get myself together, because the last thing you want to do is take all of those issues from your day and walk into your home with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Talk about the stigma of Black women. It's always like you got to be strong and you got to. And I tell that to my wife is a strong woman.
Absolutely.
But sometimes I'm just like, it's okay if you don't feel like doing anything.
It's okay to not be
if you don't. I'll wash the dishes, which I do anyway. I do too. I'll do these things.
Yes.
Relax. Like you don't have to be. You don't have to always be doing something.
You don't have to be I'm every woman. You don't have to wear the cape every day.
Yeah. You don't have to live those songs.
Can I just say that? I appreciate y'all saying that. I appreciate you saying
that.
We support always.
Oh, man, I love that.
And we are both married to Black women.
Strong Black women.
The SBW, the strong Black women. You know what? That's the persona. And I think sometimes, I'm sure you've heard we wear it as a badge of honor. I am a strong Black woman.
Yes.
But you know what? It's okay when we don't feel strong sometimes.
Right.
It's okay when we, may not have this. We've been strong for a long time. And our ancestors before us and before us. And if we're not careful, we're going to continue to pass that on.
Exactly.
Yes. And so, like I said, I'm a recovering corporate America professional. I felt like that was how I had to show up at work every day. I felt like I had to go in there.
It's like it is a persona, and I got to do this.
Because I felt like they were all looking. Because first of all, not everybody looked like me.
Exactly.
And many times I was sitting at tables where I was either the only female or the only person of color.
But you belonged, and you were there.
But here's the thing: I felt like I had to prove that I belonged.
Right.
So I felt like I wanted them to see me as a person who was strong, in control, and in charge. I want y'all to see and feel my confidence. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what about the days when that's not the case?
When you don't feel that.
Yes.
Feel like it.
And so the unpopular opinion is just maintain that. Put your big girl panties on and keep it moving. But that's always not healthy if that's not genuine and authentic.
Right. And when you can't, and it just becomes to a point where you can't move anymore.
Right.
And you are, and then we're going back to the mental. Your mental is so bogged down that you don't even want to get out of bed. You don't even want to move.
So there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. So even if in our mind we're saying, I'm strong, I'm in control, I'm in charge, I got this, the body is like, well, wait a minute, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stressed. I'm burnt out and stressed out. And so can we slow it down? But we're not listening. And so just like a trash compactor, we can only suppress so much.
So far,
and at some point, we gotta let it go, or things are going to break down.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I remember at one point I went to a therapist. I was grieving the loss of my mother, and then eventually my father and my sister. Yeah. And I remember my therapist saying, "You can't keep." He said, "I've been doing this for a long time. You can't keep going like this. I appreciate you wanting to have that strong persona, but he said, I know what I'm looking at, and if you're not careful, you are going to have a nervous breakdown, a mental breakdown."
And therapy, talk about therapy.
First of all, it's not a dirty word. Can we just talk about therapy? Especially in the Black community. Can I say I love my therapist, Dr. Jende O'Grady. I love my therapist. He has helped me through so much. and helped me to get to
We
where
have
I
to
am today.
talk
I've had
these
so many.
things out.
Yes, I've had some major breakthroughs thanks to therapy.
Yeah.
And it's good for you. It was good for me. It has helped me to heal from a lot of things that I didn't even know that I needed to heal from. And so I recommend it. There are times when I just go to therapy just for a I feel like a jump, like you jumped the shark. like you know what I think
Get a
about
choke
but
there.
I just want to talk some things out.
Right.
But and I think it's stigmatized sometimes. People think
It
that
is.
you have to be quote unquote crazy or
No.
about to shoot up a place
'Cause
or
that's
something
too
like
late.
that. Yeah.
At that point,
At that point, you already crossed the line there.
Right.
You need to maybe go into a rubber room
Yeah.
or something there.
And I had the wrong impressions of therapy when I
We
first
all-
started
we all
going.
have.
I walked in there and I had on my corporate suit and my corporate pearls and my corporate heels,
Right.
and I'm
I was
thinking,
like, I'm just here.
I just need a couple of sessions, get me straight and I'm gone. And he was like, let me tell you something. And I'm in there with my daughter. My daughter's now an adult, but at the time she was a teenager. And let me tell you something. A lot of times we don't realize how sometimes we unconsciously can project our issues onto our children. So I remember my therapist saying, well, honey, I can't even help you. I can't even help her until I help you.
Wow.
And I'm sitting there, and when he told me about the nervous breakdown, I remember thinking, I'm not the nervous breakdown type. I got on the corporate suit, the corporate heels, and my corporate
I'm a strong black woman.
I'm an
SBW.
And look, I said, listen, that nervous breakdown ain't going with my outfit. So, it's not going with my red.
It doesn't fit. Right.
So, Doc, what I have to do? Because I don't want to be that person. But no, I took it seriously. I heeded his warning. I did my work. I did my healing. I released the things that I needed to release. I grieved. I cried. The ugly cry.
That was everywhere.
That one. The one that we be trying to,
try to hold it back.
The mascara and trying to keep it all together. But we gotta stop having those feelings. Do you know how hard it was for me to go to my superiors at my law firm where there aren't a lot of women or minorities that look like me and say, I think I need to take some time? I never wanted to feel like I was looking weak or that I couldn't handle it. Exactly. That is an awful feeling.
That is.
But let me tell you something. Me deciding to take the time to take time away and prioritize me, that's the strongest.
The best thing you could have did.
I'm thinking I'm looking weak. That's the strongest decision I've ever made.
So talk about work-life balance, because before you get to that point, there's some things you can do, because the job will brutalize you. That's not the word. Harass you.
Absolutely.
Until you just say enough is enough. And they just want more and more and more.
And have we solved the work-life balance? No, that's the question. We've never solved that.
Well, here's the thing. In my case, as you just heard, it was up to me. I didn't expect anybody to come over and say, you know what, Lou, you've been working so hard. Let's give you, a few weeks with pay. Just take that time. No, they're going to keep, if you keep coming in, they're going to keep expecting. So it's up to us to balance the work and the life when it's not in sync, when there isn't any synergy anymore. And not only that, but we've heard, and listen, if you don't prioritize you, because you'll keep working, you'll break down or have that nervous breakdown, and they'll replace you.
So somebody you'll die at your desk, and they'll be like, just scrape Ben off of there. And
post this job description to see who we can get in his
place. Probably that day.
You got out of there that day. They replace you.
How much was the salary again?
So sad,
it is.
But that makes job.
They move on.
Right. We got to keep it moving. We got to keep. Sometimes it's unfortunate, but a lot of companies, they put profitability before their people.
Yeah. And that is the reason why there's life insurance policies on all of the employees, because they get a part of that.
Wow, isn't that something?
That is something.
You thinking they being nice?
You're like, wow, they just give it to you. There's reasons.
And you notice when you leave the firm, they take it back.
Exactly. You don't have this anymore. Exactly.
Well, any final word that you want our fans to know about you and your everything you got going on, and you said you traveled a lot too.
Yeah.
How's that balance too going on?
Yeah, with a daughter.
With a daughter, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, now my daughter is no longer a teenager. She is now an adult, and
Yes.
she has a family of her own. And so,
Okay.
you know what? My siblings are good, except for the one who transitioned.
Yeah.
But my siblings are grown, and my daughter, they are grown, gone, and don't need a lump. And so,
Amen
so
for that.
good. Yes.
Amen for that.
You get a hand clap for that one.
Yes.
That means you did a good job.
Yes.
That's what that means.
And so, so anyone who is looking for, if you're looking for an international speaker, or, you want to MC someone to, help you with your corporate training so you can have mentally healthy workplaces and
Yes.
environments,
Yes.
you can reach out to me on my website, drrhondaMwood.com, or you can follow me on all social media platforms at Dr. Rhonda M. Wood.
Awesome.
You got a comment. We got a comment here saying inspiring story by Dr. Rhonda Wood.
Oh, thank you
In
so
the
much.
comments.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
And we thank you. Thank you for coming back.
Yes,
thank you for
coming
being
back.
persistent. And we love having you on.
Oh, thank you so
Yes,
much for
we
having
did.
me. This was
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you.
Have a good one.